Welcome back to Roxy's Journal of Stitchery for March, and with the background theme of reclaimed textiles, what I'm going through is just some old bits and pieces that I've got from various places. So some of these are from cushion covers. This red one, you can actually see it's really faded in one part, and I'm playing around with them because I want to put some different pieces that I've torn up and cut up on the background of my March block. So I'm looking at using striped fabrics in tones of blue and red and white. There will be some other colours that come on top because, knowing me, I can't stay away from bright colours. But my foundation, I want it to be stripes. So I'm just playing around with how I might apply these fabrics to the background, and I end up going with these three fabrics that I've picked here. I like the red one. It was already ripped like that. It's literally just a random piece that I bought and it came ripped up like that. The blue stripe that's running down the side with the different widths in stripes is again just a random piece that I've bought. And then the stripy thin stripe down the bottom actually came from the back of a quilt. So I want to also put a piece of this embroidered trim on. I'm just deciding which one I want to use. So the one with the big pink flower is one I got at my favourite crafty op shop, the Sewing Basket. I got that last weekend. I think I got it for 50 cents a metre. And then the other one that's on the roll there, which you'll see in a minute, is a thinner one, and I do end up going with the other one. I also have this little offcut of a cross-stitch flower, which I'd like to place down on my block somewhere. And I've got this little label, which I got off an antique embroidery piece, and I want to play with that as well. And I'm just experimenting with a few trims. Everything I'm using is old. There's nothing new. It's all reclaimed, vintage textiles, bit of pink rickrack there, and just playing around with different things that I've recently purchased. So I did have a good shop at the Sewing Basket on the weekend, and again came home with a big bag of goodies for $50, which was fantastic. So another thing I know I definitely want to do is have a quote on my page this week, or this month, sorry. So the quote I want to use is a quote that I found from The Secret Garden. And I'm using these little stamps that kind of click together to letter stamps so you can make words, and a navy blue stays on ink. I like the stays on ink because it pretty much stamps on different types of surfaces, so it stamps nicely on the fabric. So the quote that I am putting on here is from the book The Secret Garden, and the quote says, "And the secret garden bloomed and bloomed, and every morning revealed new miracles." So I quite like this because it will go along nicely with my butterfly theme. You won't be able to see what I'm thinking for the butterflies at the moment or this week, but next week I might give you a bit of an idea. So my intention with the block this month is to be fairly simple. I'm not going to be doing as much heavy embroidery as I've done on the last two blocks, but I will be doing embellishing, and hopefully you like the look of it. So just getting back to my stamps, because I know some people might ask, these stamps I got from AliExpress, and they were super cheap. I think I got a set of the full alphabet for maybe a couple of dollars, and I actually bought, I think, maybe 3 sets just so I have multiple letters. Especially with the vowels like the A's and the E's, you always need lots. So just playing around with them, and I do stamp a little bit crooked. You can see it gets a little bit crooked, but I'm not too fussed because it's all handmade, and handmade is not perfect. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit just so you can see the end part of me stamping the quote. So you can see it's a little bit wonky. I'm not going to embroider over the letters. I just want to actually have them stamped. I like the stamped look. And I'm just putting on my last word, which is miracles. And now with my background fabrics, I have them all pinned in place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a running cantha stitch, just a running stitch, in the same direction horizontally across all three fabrics to hold them in place like one piece of fabric. And the thread that I'm using is just a normal 100% sewing cotton, just in white. Thin cotton, you can't notice it much, but it does give a nice texture to the fabrics once they're all stitched down. And I've added the stripy piece on the bottom as well, the smaller piece, and I've done the exact same stitching where I've done the cantha running stitch across all three pieces, so it's all nicely held together. I also trimmed the edges off just slightly on one side, just to even it out because it had gone a little bit crooked. And now I am adding this little piece of trim. So same kind of cotton, just the 100% white cotton, and I'm just going to do a little overcast stitch along each long edge. The edge has actually got a little bit of white on it, so when I do my tiny little overcast stitches, you can barely see the stitching at all because it just blends in nicely to the edge of the embroidered ribbon. So I've gone all the way along one edge and now I'm just finishing off by stitching along the top edge. I don't sew down the sides because it's fairly well secured by having the two long edges stitched in place. And I'm not stitching down my words yet, but just a little final play around to have a look at how my words could go onto the page. I've just got to decide, that's a bit crooked, that fold, but I've got to decide if I want to have a raw edge on the words or if I want to tuck it under and do a needle turn applique. And then I'd like to use that little label as well. And then you'll also be able to see in the future how the buttons, not buttons, bees are going to be added. So as you can see, a simple running stitch day, fairly easy background. It didn't take me too long to put this background together, but hopefully it looks more interesting once it's embellished. And just a note for everyone, this month of March actually has 5 Wednesdays in it. Normally we only use 4 Wednesdays to complete our block. So what Rachel and I have decided to do is we're going to do something special on the 5th Wednesday. It'll be something that you will be able to work on, and it will take up some time if you want to keep doing some sew stitching, and it will be something that you will be able to work on throughout the project that you will use at the end when you put your book all together. So that means that we will have 5 Wednesdays this March on this block with a special project at the end, and then our next block will come out on the first Wednesday of April. Okay, thanks for watching. Pretty basic project this week, but hopefully you like the themes, and we will see you again next week. Okay, bye.